So today I want to talk to you about another type of constructor. Now there's three special methods that every class has that C++ gives you. Your default constructor, which you normally going to overwrite, your destructor, which you may need to overwrite, especially if you have pointers, and we've talked about that in a previous video, and then a copy constructor. And this is another thing that you probably want to overwrite and write for yourself. Now, a copy constructor is going to look a lot like a constructor, but we're going to overload it. And how we're going to do it is we're going to pass in another circle object in this case. So I'm going to say circle. Inside my circle.h file, I pass in circle star. And so I'm passing in a pointer object. Now, I could do something else if I need to, but we're going to use pointers. And I'm going to likewise, inside of my constructor, say const circle star and original. With each of these, I say this arrow x is equal to original arrow x. And we're using the arrows because we're dealing with a pointer object. We also increment our counter, and that's real important because this is a new object. These two are completely separate. Instead of our intro.cpp, what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify circle star, and I'm going to call this duplicate real quick, just because it's a duplicate object. And it's going to equal new circle, and I'm going to pass in circle 1. Now I'm going to do a cout real quick and say circle 1 radius is, and specify circle 1 dot get radius. I'm then going to check and see what the duplicate is and check the duplicate radius. They should be exactly the same. Then I'm going to say circle 1 dot set radius, and I'm going to set it equal to 10. But because they're two separate objects, when I print them out again, the radius for my first object, circle 1, should be 10, but my duplicate should still be the 4. Going to run this real quick. Notice that both objects initially, circle 1 and duplicate, are 4. We then set the radius to 10, and then because we set it to circle 1, when we print out a second time, the radius is 10, but the duplicate radius is 4. And what we've done is we've created what's known as a deep copy. And this is a real important thing to kind of understand, is there's two types of copies we can make. We can make a shallow copy or a deep copy. A deep copy takes all our values and moves them over and duplicates them. Kind of like if you had a photocopier. I can make changes on my photocopy and they don't show up on the original. I can make changes on the original. They're not going to change in the photocopy. A shallow copy is more used and more commonly seen when we have large complex data types and maybe we create a reference to another data type. Now we have two objects that are both pointing to the same memory address, like an array or another object. Now, do we create a whole new object and duplicate that? That's a deep copy. Or do we just point to the same point? That's a shallow copy. In a shallow copy, either one object can change that original source data and it shows up in both places. So shallow copies are faster, but they can have some unintended consequences. You have to kind of decide what's the best thing for what it is that I'm doing right now. In this case, we're just showing a deep copy, and it's pretty easy to do. And that is how you're going to use a copy constructor inside of C++.